Heartwarming discovery. Billionaire unexpectedly reveals his daughter's doctor is his lost love. Jack Thompson stood frozen in front of the weathered clinic sign, swaying gently in the wind. Memories flooded him like rushing water. The familiar creaking would had witnessed countless moments in his life, the laughter of childhood friends, the touches of first love, and now the impending doom as his daughter Ella fought for her young life inside those walls. The weight of his fortune felt heavier than ever. 14 years had worn away the town's tender embrace, leaving a hard shell of pride and guilt around his heart. Ella was only 8, and now tears streamed down Jack's face as he recalled her sparkling laughter and the joy she brought into his days. "I'm here for you, sweetheart," he whispered. Clenching his fists, he faced the reality before him. He wanted nothing but the best for her, even if it meant facing the ghosts he abandoned for success. Walking through the sliding glass doors of the clinic, he was hit by a wave of nostalgia. The smells of antiseptic mixed with faint traces of childhood snacks made his heart ache. He spotted her. Emily, the town's dedicated doctor. The girl who once held his heart in her hands. Time had graced her with beauty, wisdom sparkling in her eyes and determination etched in her brow. For a brief moment they locked eyes as if the years apart melted away. But then reality crashed back in, and the weight of betrayal hung between them, heavy with unspoken words. As Ella's condition deteriorated, Jack couldn't remain passive. He threw himself into actions only a billionaire could conjure, talking to specialists, securing time on the elite medical benches of the country. But as he navigated these corporate corridors, he felt the stark absence of something essential. His wealth couldn't devise a cure for Ella. It couldn't rekindle lost trust. Meanwhile, Emily fought tirelessly, embodying values of compassion he'd forsaken for profit. Jack watched her as she interacted with families, her heart evident in her every movement. Each subtle smile, each whisper of hope she offered patients only increased his frustration. Why didn't I see this before? He fumed internally. "Jack, you can't buy health," she said one day after a particularly rough diagnosis, her tone laced with bitterness. "You can only build relationships." He didn't have a response. She was right. He felt like a ship lost at sea. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days dragged on, Ella's treatment turned erratic. Just when he thought he could secure a lifeline, complications arose, shattering the fragile hope that remained. The realities of his wealth forced him to stare hard into his choices, the decision to prioritize his ambitions over his family. Jack found himself standing across from Emily one night, their shared history crackling in the air. With Ella asleep in a hospital bed, Jack realized the raw truth: his relentless pursuit of gold had blinded him to what actually mattered. For the first time, he felt the sting of consequences. "I never meant to hurt anyone, especially you," he started. But the words hung heavy, waiting for a response. The confrontation brewed with unsettled emotions. Would Jack reconnect with the town, the people, and the woman he so dearly loved, or let his past choices mar his future? The ticking clock reminded him that time was running out, and with Ella's fate dangerously uncertain, one question loomed over him. Could he find redemption before it slipped away entirely? The sterile glow of the hospital lights felt harsh against Jack's skin as he met Emily's gaze. A tempest of emotions swirling in the air. She was the one person who held a mirror to his soul, revealing all the cracks he had tried to hide with success. He felt vulnerable like never before, standing before the woman who had once been the center of his universe. "Jack," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Her hands gripped the edge of the nurse's station, knuckles white with tension. "You hurt us both. You need to understand what you left behind." Her words sliced through him, sharp and relentless. He could almost hear the laughter of their younger selves, carefree and hopeful in this very clinic. But the weight of the truth pressed down heavier. Jack had been running for so long, and now standing in that moment the chase felt pointless. He took a tentative step forward. "I've missed you, Em. I never stopped thinking about you. I thought I could build a life without you, without this town. A flicker of pain crossed her face, and he cursed himself for adding to it. But now all I want is to fix things. For Ella. For us. Emily shook her head. Sorrow etched in her features. Love isn't something you fix, Jack. It's built and it takes time and trust. And those are things you've shattered. She turned slightly to the side, her body language closing off. He felt the chasm between them widen. A distance forged over years of silence. I know that now, Jack replied, desperation creeping into his tone. I'll do anything, Em. I want to be a better father, a better man. With you. Ella's small voice interrupted their emotional standoff. The little girl stirred in her hospital bed. Her fragile form vulnerable yet beautiful. Jack rushed to her side, brushing back her hair gently. Hey, sweetheart. How are you feeling? She blinked up at him, her eyes heavy but still bright. I want to go home, Daddy, she murmured, and Jack felt the heartbreak clenching tight in his chest. Home. The word echoed loud in his mind, reminding him of quieter times, filled with laughter and love, yet suffocated now by his choices. We're going to get you home, he promised, squeezing her small hand tightly. I'm doing everything I can to make it happen, I swear it. Emily stood nearby, watching him with an intensity that made the air crackle. She can't go home until she's stable, Jack. It's a long road ahead. Then I'll make sure she gets everything she needs, he said, determination surging through him. He glanced back at Emily, hoping for support in her eyes. Together. We have to work together. The slightest flicker of hope ignited in Emily's expression, and she nodded slowly, albeit reluctantly. All right. For Ella. As they began discussing Ella's treatment plan, Jack could feel the threads of their connection tighten, knitting their past with hope for the future. But deep down he was terrified. Would his actions be enough this time? Hours passed, filled with details about medications and care plans. Jack focused on Ella, on building a bridge back to Emily. Yet, with every word exchanged, the weight of the past loomed over him like a storm cloud, threatening to rain down at any moment. When the day ended, Jack stood outside the clinic, the bleakness of the night sky stretching endlessly above him. He felt both exhilarated and exhausted. The night seemed to whisper secrets of redemption, yet a heavy uncertainty lingered. Could he really transform? Could he mend the broken pieces of their hearts? Or was it merely words written in the sand, destined to be washed away by the tides of reality? Just then, he heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps behind him. He turned sharply, and there stood Emily, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Jack, she began, her voice shaky, we need to talk about what happens next. Fear and hope collided within him, swirling together as he braced for another emotional storm to come. What did she mean by that? Was this a chance for them? Or the final unraveling of everything they had once held dear? Emily took a deep breath, her gaze fixed on the ground, as if the very earth might offer her some clarity. Jack held his breath, feeling the weight of her every word before they even left her lips. Time seemed to slow as he waited for her to collect her thoughts. Jack, things can't just go back to how they were, she finally said, her voice firm yet tender. We can't erase the past, no matter how much we might want to. He felt his heart pound in his chest, a primal rhythm urging him to bridge the distance. I don't want to erase it. I want to learn from it. I want to make things right. The sincerity in his voice was almost desperate. Emily's eyes lifted to meet his, a flicker of hope mingling with doubt. And how do you plan to do that? What changes can you really make? You've been gone for so long, Jack. Our lives. It's complicated. Jack took a step closer, closing the space slowly, cautiously. I can't change overnight, but I'm here now. For Ella, for you. I want to be part of your lives again. I want to be a father, her father again. The earnestness in his voice broke through some of her barriers. Jack could see the conflict in her expression. She was scared but also yearning, and that gave him a glimmer of hope. I'm afraid, Jack, Emily admitted softly. What if you leave again? What if you're just saying this because you see Ella's in the hospital? What if you revert to the man who turned his back? I won tea, he blurted out, his voice a mix of pleading and raw honesty. I've learned the hard way, Em. Running from you both, it was the biggest mistake of my life. I was scared. And now? I'm ready to face whatever it takes to rebuild. He paused, the weight of his past pressing down on him. I won't run again. Ella's small, tired voice broke the tension. Daddy? Mommy? They both turned toward the bed where their daughter lay, her big eyes searching for reassurance. The moment passed between them. A silent understanding that it didn't matter how they got there, but that they had to focus on Ella now. Hey there, sunshine, Jack said, instantly morphing into a softer version of himself. He moved to her bedside, brushing his fingers over her hair again. You're doing great. We're going to get you home soon. Emily moved closer, her heart aching at the sight of her daughter. For a moment the past melted away, and all that mattered was Ella, fragile but hopeful. As they exchanged looks, Jack noticed a hint of vulnerability in Emily's eyes. She still carried the weight of doubt, but there was also a flicker of something else. Could it be hope? Ella's our priority, she said finally. But that doesn't mean we can ignore what's been broken. Jack nodded, feeling the heat of her gaze. I know. I'm willing to prove myself, Emily. Just give me the chance. Tenderness mixed with caution splashed across Emily's features, but before she could reply, the doctor entered, breaking their moment. The practicalities of Ella's care demanded attention. The three of them shifted into their roles. Mother, father, and doctor, centered around the little girl each loved fiercely. But as they listened to the doctor explain recovery plans, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this could be a turning point. A chance for more than just co-parenting, maybe even a chance to rediscover one another. As they stepped outside the hospital room, away from Ella, Emily's phone pinged. She glanced down, a mix of concern and shock flaring in her eyes. I have to take this, she said, moving slightly away from him. Jack's heart raced with a mix of confusion and anticipation. What could be so important? He watched her from a distance, feeling the thrill of possibility in their renewed connection, yet the fear of that connection unraveling again in the face of whatever she just received weighed on him. When Emily turned back to him, her expression was unreadable. Jack, whatever I choose, whatever we choose, it's going to change everything. Are you ready for that? He opened his mouth to affirm his commitment, but doubt trickled in, as insidious as the shadows that lurked in the corners of the hospital. Could he truly be ready? The question loomed heavily in the air, mingling with the tension and vulnerability pulsating between them. As Emily's phone chimed again, they both knew one conversation could change the course of everything. Would it be the hope they needed, or would it shatter them once more? Emily's fingers trembled as she clutched her phone, her mind racing with possibilities. Jack felt like a starved man being offered nourishment, but only being able to watch the meal being prepared just out of reach. He called gently, and she blinked, snapping back to the moment. She held up a hand, signaling him to wait. The phone pressed against her ear, her expression shifting as she listened intently. Jack's heart pounded louder in his chest. Was this a call about Ella's condition? Or something far more personal? The tone in Emily's voice dropped as she replied, No, I understand. But it's not that simple. Jack strained to catch snippets of the conversation. The urgency seeped through her words, and she looked shaken, almost disoriented. He took a step toward her, fighting the urge to demand what was going on. Instead, he tried to be patient, grounding himself in the gravity of the moment. Questions swirled in his mind. Was this a complication regarding Ella? Or something that could tear them apart once again? Finally she hung up, her face pale. That was the hospital, she said, her voice softer, almost fragile. They said there's been an unexpected development regarding Ella's treatment plan. Jack leaned in, the worry pooling in his stomach. What kind of development? Emily took a deep breath, her eyes darting away for just a moment before meeting his gaze. They need me to approve a specialist, a doctor I've never worked with before. His heart sank a little. And are you okay with that? It's not just any doctor, Jack. It's Dr. Matthews. The name buzzed in the air between them like a live wire. Jack's mind raced. Dr. Matthews was a well-regarded pediatric specialist, known for his revolutionary techniques. But there was so much more than that. He had been best friends with Emily, and had even spent time with both of them before Jack's departure. It felt like a ghost from the past had suddenly re-emerged, igniting flickering insecurities inside him. Is he? Jack started but trailed off. He didn't want to sound jealous or insecure, not now, not when they were building something new. Yes, Emily answered tentatively, her voice quaking slightly. He's the one who had been called at the last minute. He was my advisor during my residency. Her breath hitched slightly, a wave of emotion washing over her face. We haven't spoken since I left, Jack finished, trying to mask his own tumult of feelings. Yeah. I don't want to stand in your way if you think he's the best option for Ella, Jack said, forcing the words out. I just didn't expect him to be the one. I need time to think about this. Emily looked away, gathering her thoughts. A heavy silence enveloped them. Jack could feel the weight of choices waiting to be made. It was not just about Ella now. He finally said, his tone shifting. I need to know where we stand. If this doctor brings up our past, and I'm not there comfortable with it, how do we move forward? Emily's eyes searched his, a flicker of vulnerability returning. That's my fear too. What if seeing him brings everything back? We just started rebuilding, then let us build together, Jack proposed, sensing a glimmer of resolve. We can tackle the hard conversations. Just promise me if it gets too much we'll address it together. No more running. She nodded slowly, and something in her eyes told him that maybe, just maybe, they could embrace the turbulence instead of letting it tear them apart. Suddenly, the hospital hallway echoed with the sound of footsteps, a reminder of the world outside their bubble. We should get back to Ella, she said, breaking the tension with a determined flicker. Jack agreed, but the uncertainty still lingered. Every resolution they made felt like a high-wire act without a net. As they walked together, he silently vowed to prove he was worth the risk. But as they reached the door to Ella's room, the question nagged at him. Could they truly navigate this new reality? Would they emerge stronger or be overwhelmed by the past that seemed intent on haunting them? The answer felt just out of reach, and with a hesitant breath, Jack turned the handle. Would they be prepared for what lay waiting behind that door? As Jack opened the door, a wave of warmth washed over him, contrasting sharply with the anxiety that had gripped him. Ella lay in her hospital bed, a small figure among the white sheets and beeping machines. She looked so fragile, yet she clutched a toy dinosaur tightly, her small hand a bastion of strength amidst the medical chaos surrounding her. Hey, Munchkin, Jack said softly, forcing the collected worry from his voice. Ella's face broke into a smile, her bright eyes lighting up the room. How are you feeling today? I'm okay, Daddy. They gave me rainbow juice. She pointed to a cup on the nightstand, and Jack felt a flicker of relief. If Ella was already looking for the bright side, maybe they could stand a chance at finding theirs too. Emily stepped in behind him, her presence a grounding force. The moment Ella noticed her, her smile widened. Mommy! The joy in her daughter's voice pierced Jack's chest, a reminder of just how much they had all been through. We just got a call from the hospital, Emily started, her voice steady despite her earlier whirlwind of emotions. There's a new doctor on your treatment team. Ella tilted her head, curious. Is it a nice doctor? Emily cast a glance at Jack, and he nodded to encourage her. Yes, sweetie. Yes, very nice. His name is Dr. Matthews. The name hung in the air, charged with history and implications that went beyond medical credentials. Ella blinked, her little brow furrowed in thought. Is he my dinosaur doctor? Jack's heart sank, realizing that the bad feelings surrounding Dr. Matthews were so much bigger than any dinosaur could deal with. He is, Emily confirmed, her voice brightening as she focused on their daughter. You'll like him, I promise. Jack could see the tension on Emily's face soften just slightly, but her eyes remained clouded with unspoken words. The past was creeping back in, threatening to overshadow the small victories they were slowly achieving. As they settled into small conversations about Ella's day, her favorite cartoons and her own dreams of flying, Jack's thoughts revolved around Emily's earlier fear. What would Dr. Matthews think of their situation? Would he reminisce about moments they shared that Jack would rather forget? Suddenly, a nurse walked in, breaking the moment. Dr. Matthews will be here in a few minutes, she announced with a bright smile. He's just reviewing Ella's charts. Jack exchanged a glance with Emily, each of them catching a flicker of the same concern in the other's eyes. The hospital room felt more constricting now, anticipation knotting in Jack's stomach. I think I'll step out for a moment, Emily volunteered, her voice careful but firm. I need a bit of air to clear my head. No, Jack said instinctively, grabbing her hand. You shouldn't go alone. Let me come. Emily hesitated, as if wrestling with the pull to retreat into solitude against the need for connection and support. "I'll just be a minute, Emily," he urged softly. "We said we'd tackle this together. It's okay to be scared." She drew in a shaky breath, her eyes glistening for a moment before she nodded. "You're right. I need you with me." As they moved toward the hallway, Jack could feel the tremors of uncertainty wrapped tightly around them. Were they prepared for the confrontation that was about to unfold? With every step they took, the weight of the past loomed large, but together they were a little stronger. Would Dr. Matthews see them as the family they'd begun to reconstruct? Or would he only see remnants of what had been? The door swung open and the air seemed to thicken. Jack's heart raced. When they finally emerged into the hallway, the world felt so vast and full of possibilities. They had a chance to confront the past, but would it lead to healing or further heartbreak? The hallway outside Ella's room buzzed with activity. Doctors and nurses moved seamlessly, their conversations blending into the backdrop of the beeping machines. Jack's grip on Emily's hand tightened involuntarily. The air held a mix of antiseptic and hope, while uncertainty hung heavily like a storm cloud. "Let us sit here," Emily suggested, gesturing to a small waiting area just within sight of Ella's room. They sank into the worn seats, the fabric cool against Jack's back. He glanced at Emily, searching for a sign of reassurance as the seconds ticked away. "What if he doesn't remember?" Emily's voice was barely a whisper, yet it resonated with the fears they both held. "What if he sees you and thinks, just remember, he's not here for us. He's here for Ella." Jack's voice was firm, but his heart raced. "We just need to keep our focus on her." But as he spoke, little flashes of their shared past flickered in his mind, late nights filled with laughter, whispered secrets in the dark, and the unspoken weight of a relationship that had started to fray before it had even fully begun. Would Dr. Matthews overlook those daydreams to truly listen? Jack couldn't shake the memory of the tension that had tainted their last interactions. The waiting felt endless, but then, amidst the flurry of feet and voices, a familiar figure emerged. Dr. Matthews stood at the entrance of the hallway, glancing down at a folder in his hands. He wore a smart blazer that felt a little too formal for the hospital's relaxed chaos. When he finally looked up, his eyes wandered, catching Jack's first. Recognition ignited. Jack felt exposed, like a secret had just been spilled out into the open. "Jack." Dr. Matthews' voice was steady, though there was a hint of disbelief. "It's been a while." "Yeah," Jack responded, swallowing hard. "You got the charts?" The doctor nodded, his expression shifting toward professional, but Jack could see the flicker of memories lingering behind his gaze, good and bad. "Where's Ella?" Dr. Matthews asked, his focus sharpening, anchoring away from their shared history. "Where she's right here," Jack stammered, motioning toward the room. The doctor's demeanor shifted, all of his focus now homing in on the patient. "She's quite the brave one," Dr. Matthews said, warmth oozing into his tone as he headed towards Ella's room. The fragility of the moment made Jack's heart swell with pride in his daughter. This doctor, while a reminder of the past, had the potential to shape their future. Emily's hand slipped into Jack's, and he felt her steadying presence beside him as they followed. "You okay?" he whispered, glancing at her. She nodded, but the uncertainty lingered in her eyes. "Let us see how this goes." Entering the room, they both took in the sight of Ella, still proudly clutching her toy dinosaur. The walls seemed to vibrate with hope, and Jack could feel energy surging between the four of them, the doctor, his wife, and their daughter, a fragile web spun from family strength. "Hi, Ella," Dr. Matthews greeted, kneeling to her level. "I'm Dr. Matthews, your dinosaur doctor. I hear you've been telling everyone about your rainbow juice." Ella giggled, the sound bubbling up like a stream of sunlight piercing through clouds. "Yes, I had it for breakfast. Do you like rainbow juice?" The doctor paused, a slight smile breaking his professional facade. "I've never tried it myself, but I think I could use some on a day like this." Jack watched as their daughter's laughter filled the air, breaking the barriers that hung heavily just moments before. A spark of connection ignited in Dr. Matthews' eyes. Perhaps this was the moment they needed, the opening for conversations that could mend the past's damage. But just as quickly as that spark flared, it dimmed. Jack noticed a fleeting shadow across Dr. Matthews' face. A hesitation that suggested unanswered questions loomed large. What part of their past would resurface now? Jack felt Emily tense beside him, And he knew they were looking for the same answers. Would the doctor only see remnants of their lost dreams, or would he also see the glimmer of hope in their new beginning? Ella lay blissfully unaware, a beacon of light in the room. Jack released a breath. The challenge ahead was still daunting, but maybe, just maybe, this moment was the start of something they all desperately needed. As the laughter faded, unanswered questions lingered in the air. Begging for revelation, would they find healing? Or would the past continue to haunt them? Ella's laughter echoed through the room, bringing warmth that seemed to lull the tension into a sleepy hush. Dr. Matthews straightened up, the smile still lingering at the corners of his mouth. For a moment, it seemed as if the past faded into the walls, the intricate patterns almost swallowing it whole. Ella, he said, his voice softer now, almost tender. Can you tell me what's wrong? The little girl paused, her brow furrowing slightly in thought. Jack held his breath, watching as she processed the question. My tummy hurts sometimes, she said, her voice a whisper now, sincerity shading her words. But I want to play. Dr. Matthews nodded, his expression shifting to that of deep concentration. We want to help you feel better so you can go back to your dinosaur adventures. Jack could see the doctor's focus hone in on Ella, his past with Jack and Emily fading into background noise. In that moment, it laid the groundwork for something new, something that could mend their wounds. Ella continued to chatter, her toddler tales weaving a spell of innocence around them. But then a flicker of movement caught Jack's eye. Emily leaned closer, her expression tight, almost as if she sensed the shift in atmosphere. The air thickened once more, the laughter fading, replaced by that storm cloud of uncertainty that had hung over them earlier. Can you give us a moment? Emily said suddenly, glancing at Jack before turning back to Dr. Matthews, who looked momentarily surprised. Of course, he replied, glancing at Ella with a kind of warmth that melted the tension a little further. I'll give you some time. As Dr. Matthews stepped out, Jack felt a wave of apprehension wash over him. Emily turned towards him, her expression shifting from childlike hope to something deeper. We need to talk about how we're going to handle this, she said, her voice low but firm. I know this is hard, but Emily, it's not just about us, Jack interrupted gently, his heart racing with the weight of their history balancing on his tongue. It's about Ella. If he remembers everything, she echoed, her eyes widening. Then what? What do we say to him? Can we face this together? He stepped closer, brushing his fingers against hers, feeling the pulse of their shared fears. We don't have to have all the answers right now. We just have to keep the focus on her. Everything else, it can wait. Emily's gaze softened, though fear still lingered in her eyes. You're right. We can't let our past cloud her future. In that moment of understanding, something shifted. Jack caught sight of Dr. Matthews re-entering the room, and he saw Emily straighten her back. They were both determined to face whatever was coming. Are you ready for me, Ella? Dr. Matthews asked, smiling as he resumed his role as her doctor, but also a potential bridge to their shared past. We're ready. She squealed, a bright beacon of joy despite everything. Jack and Emily shared a brief glance, an unspoken bond forming between them, a unity not defined solely by love, but also by a shared commitment to their child. They each took in the small details of the moment, a smile, a nod, and the gentle rising of Ella's laughter filling the air once again. As the discussion about Ella's treatment unfolded, Jack felt the shadows of the past gather at the edges of the room. They weren't gone, but they no longer demanded attention. A sense of potential fluttered in his chest. Yet, as Dr. Matthews began to speak about the next steps, Jack could feel it, the lingering questions about their past, how they would address them, and whether they would emerge stronger by confronting them. Would the reunion with their old friend and the doctor be a new beginning? But in the undertow of hope, a nagging worry clenched at Jack's gut. What if the truth that lay ahead would cost them more than they were willing to pay? The room pulsed with unspoken words and a connection that felt as fragile as glass. Just then, Ella leaned closer towards Dr. Matthews, asking something about rainbows, light filtering beautifully through the window. Jack smiled, the warmth radiating through the room but still aware of the shadows lurking. What would happen when they crossed paths with the past once more? Ella's giggle danced through the air, brightening the room as Dr. Matthews expertly redirected the conversation to her favorite subject, dinosaurs. Jack watched with admiration, grateful to see the familiarity growing between his daughter and the doctor. There was a spark of connection blossoming, an innocent refuge from the heaviness that surrounded the three of them. Still, Jack could sense the uneasy undercurrents swirling beneath the surface. Whenever he caught Emily's eye, her gaze flickered with emotions unspoken. He could feel the weight on her shoulders, the history they had glossed over for Ella's sake. When Ella blurted out a delightful tale about the pink dinosaur that could fly, Jack felt a shadow of his own past lurking. Memories about losses and heartbreak intertwined with hope. "Daddy, do you think dinosaurs really existed?" Ella asked, her eyes wide with wonder. She turned her gaze to Jack, searching for validation more than an answer. "Absolutely," he replied, forcing a smile that felt a little tight. "They were incredible creatures. Just like you, they were one of a kind." Emily shot him a quick smile, but he could tell it barely skimmed the surface of her worry. Just then he felt Dr. Matthews' presence shift in the room, like a sudden breeze that raised the hair on Jack's arms. "Ella," Dr. Matthews began, pulling out bright illustrations of dinosaurs. "What if I told you we can explore every layer of their world? Would you like that?" "Oh yes," Ella exclaimed, bouncing slightly on her chair, her joy contagious. Jack watched her closely, a protective instinct rising. Was this doctor really ready to face the reality of their shared history? Memories bubbled up, silhouettes of laughter and love overshadowed by tragic partings. They had all walked separate paths that somehow led back to this moment. Dr. Matthews still had that way of making everything feel attainable, and that made Jack anxious. As the conversation between Ella and Dr. Matthews deepened, Jack peered at Emily. She was troubled, her eyes clouded with thoughts he could only guess. The familiarity they once shared had morphed into something uncharted and unpredictable. "Jack," Emily said suddenly, her voice low enough to be a secret shared only between them. "What if he remembers? What if he wants to revisit what happened?" "We'll face it together," he assured, though anxiety coiled around his heart like a coil spring. "We can't let fear dictate what we build for her." The doctor turned just then, and Jack caught a glimpse of uncertainty hidden behind his focused demeanor. It was almost as if Dr. Matthews was wrestling with a tide of perception as he studied them both. "Trust is key, Jack," Dr. Matthews said, his voice steady. "I understand that trust takes time. If there's any unease, we can talk about it." Just as Jack was about to respond, Ella piped up again. "Can we go on an adventure now?" Dr. Matthews smiled. "The best adventures always start with a little imagination." Ella's thrilled yes echoed in the room, temporarily lifting the heavy atmosphere. The tension dissipated a fraction, but Jack still couldn't brush away the gnawing apprehension. Watching Ella engrossed in a story, Jack felt a twinge of hope. Could they confront their past horrors together? What would it take to heal old wounds? But even as the light-heartedness enveloped them again, something lingered. Would confronting their past offer a pathway to healing, or would it merely expose their fragile bonds? As the session wound down and Ella prepared for her imaginary adventure, Jack felt a deeper truth creeping over the horizon. Something pivotal was waiting to unfold. Would courage be enough to bridge the gaps between their shared pain and the bright future they desired? He stole a glance at Emily and saw the determination set in her eyes. Together they could face whatever came next. But deep down, Jack knew they were only beginning to unearth the truths hidden beneath decades of hurt. What awaited them at the intersections of memory and reality was still unknown, but Jack couldn't shake the feeling that it would change everything. Ella's laughter echoed as she clutched Dr. Matthews's illustrations of dinosaurs, her excitement drawing Jack and Emily momentarily away from their tangled thoughts. Anxiety lingered in Jack's chest, a constant reminder of what laid beneath the surface. As Ella's fingers danced over the pictures, Jack caught Emily's gaze again. It was still heavy with worry, but now there was something more, a flicker of hope. "See the Stegosaurus?" Dr. Matthews pointed to one of the illustrations. They were one of the largest, but they were also gentle giants. "You remind me of them," Ella, strong yet kind. "Like a giant teddy bear." Ella laughed, delight dancing in her eyes. Jack smiled at Ella's innocence, but the shadow of the doctor's thoughtful gaze pulled at his mind. Would this adventure serve as a balm for the wounds they all carried? Could it repair the frayed edges of their shared history? "Ella, how about we create our own story?" Jack suggested, hoping to extend the moment of lightness. "You can be the explorer. And I'll be your trusty dinosaur sidekick. Ella squealed with glee. And Dr. Matthews can be the scientist who helps us. Absolutely, Dr. Matthews agreed with a warm smile, though Jack noticed a flash of something deeper in his eyes. Explorers always need someone to help them understand the wonders they encounter. The tension in the room eased for a brief moment, but Jack felt the weight rising again, the unvoiced concerns about paths long forgotten. He needed to address that before it consumed them. Emily. Jack started, his voice soft but firm. This is a great opportunity for Ella. Maybe we shouldn't hold back. She looked at him, eyebrows furrowed. You think diving into our past with him is the right choice? Her voice trembled just slightly. I think it's necessary. For her and for us. The words hung in the air heavily, prompting a sigh from her lips. Just promise me we'll be cautious. We can't let her see us falter. Emily's concern was tangible, and for a heartbeat, Jack thought he might share some of his own insecurities. Whatever comes, we'll face it together, he promised, trying to offer strength. With a nod, she took a deep breath, summoning her resolve. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, the door creaked, drawing their eyes. In walked the receptionist, carrying a stack of files and looking slightly flustered. I'm sorry to interrupt, she said, breaking the moment. Dr. Matthews, you have an urgent call on line 2. Dr. Matthews nodded, his expression momentarily turning serious. I'll be right back. You two keep Ella entertained, okay? Ella's eyes widened. What kind of adventure can we have without you? An even bigger one, Jack said, though he felt his heart race with apprehension. Have you ever heard of dragons, Ella? Her eyes sparkled. Yes. They breathe fire. Exactly. And they share the land with dinosaurs. What if we went on a quest to find one? As Ella leapt into animated storytelling, Jack stole another glance at Emily. There was a hint of amusement in her smile, yet her gaze held the weight of their shared past. What if Emily began slowly, her voice barely above a whisper? What if he does remember? Jack felt his heart leap. He knew there was no avoiding it. Whatever choices they made would shape Ella's path, intertwining it with their past, a past they couldn't hide from forever. The session drifted on, with Ella leading the way on her imaginative quest. But in the quiet moments between the adventures, Jack felt a shift within himself. The possibilities were endless, but how would they navigate the truths that could intertwine with stories? As Dr. Matthews returned, a thoughtful expression on his face, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. What would happen when the stories they crafted collided with the reality they tried to avoid? Questions loomed like dark clouds, thickening the air with unspoken fears. How much longer could they dance around the truth before it stormed into their lives? As the laughter waned and peace settled in the room, the fragile web of hope intertwining Jack, Emily, and Ella felt almost electric. Dr. Matthews returned, bringing with him a fresh wave of intense energy as he began unraveling Ella's treatment plan. Ella, he said, kneeling once more beside her, I want to ensure you're ready for this next adventure. It will require bravery and teamwork. Just like a real quest. Ella nodded with wide eyes, her youthful enthusiasm lighting the space. But Jack couldn't shake the weight bearing down on him. The unspoken specter of the past loomed ever larger as their stories, overdrawn and incomplete, lingered in the air. Dr. Matthews, can we talk? Jack finally blurted, his heart racing. This was not just about Ella anymore. This was a quest they all needed to embark on together. Of course, Dr. Matthews replied, straightening his posture and fixing his gaze on Jack. Let us step outside for a moment. Emily's eyes darted between them, a flicker of concern clouding her features. Jack, she began. He held her gaze, silently assuring her that this was necessary. Stepping into the hallway, the familiarity of their shared past weighed heavily on Jack. I know we haven't spoken since everything happened, he started, swallowing the memories that began to surge forth. Dr. Matthews looked understanding but cautious. There's much to unpack, Jack. And it's important to keep Ella in focus. I agree, Jack said, desperation coating his voice. But I know there's history between us. I can't pretend like it doesn't exist. We need to have an honest conversation about it. For a brief moment, silence enveloped them, thick with the echoes of their shared past. Jack could feel memories gripping tightly at him, happy days like sunshine and difficult nights painted with regret. Has Ella asked about us? He finally asked, bracing for the answer. Yes, Dr. Matthews admitted, his expression softening slightly. But she's resilient. Children are perceptive. They feel more than they understand. What matters most is the path forward. Jack felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this conversation could bring clarity. I can see that. I want to be a better man, a better father. I need you to trust that. But if we keep skirting around everything, how can we move forward? Trust is built on honesty, Dr. Matthews replied, looking directly in Jack's eyes. The past will always hold weight, but it helps inform our future. If you both want to move forward, I need to know you're prepared to face it. Jack's heart drummed loudly, the crossroads looming like a dark fog. I'm ready, he declared, resolve washing through him. But we need to be on the same page. Can we work together for Ella's sake? Working together requires all of us being fully transparent. I'm willing to help, provided you understand that healing is a gradual process, but that process begins with acknowledgement. As they turned back toward room, Jack felt a newfound determination filling him. Could this be the dawn of a new beginning? When they re-entered, Jack noticed that Ella had positioned herself perfectly on the edge of her bed, eager and engaged in a lively discussion with Emily about dinosaurs. Gently, he approached her smaller world. This was where they could truly resonate together. Hey there, Ella, he said softly, kneeling beside her. We were just talking about how brave you are. It's like being a superhero, isn't it? Yes, just like Wonder Woman, Ella exclaimed, beaming brightly. But I need my sidekick. And I'm here, Jack said, tousling her hair affectionately. For every adventure from now on, I'm right beside you. Emily smiled at the exchange, a tenderness flooding her eyes. We're all together in this. The smile that broke across Ella's face lit up the room. They were a family united in purpose, however imperfectly formed. Dr. Matthews stepped forward, allowing the beautiful moment to settle among them. Ella, now that you're ready for your dinosaur adventure, let us talk about how we can defeat those tummy aches together. As they delved into the plans and possibilities for treatment, Jack's heart soared. The future felt concrete, with each passing moment illuminating a pathway to healing. But the bravery that lay ahead didn't exclude confronting their shared truth, and he knew that would have to happen. With every giggle and scientific delight, Jack felt hope blossom. The bleak shadows of the past still existed, but now, they stood a little less menacing in the face of their collective strength. Remember, superheroes lean on each other, Dr. Matthews reminded Ella, a sense of purpose emanating from him. No mission is too tough when you have your team beside you. Jack caught sight of Emily, her spirit renewed by the laughter surrounding them. He reached for her hand, and as their fingers intertwined, he felt the charge of unity pulsing between them. They could do this if they committed to working through the things that had hurt them. Together, he whispered, and as her eyes met his, he knew this promise was their first step toward whatever awaited them. But it was just a beginning, and they would have to confront all the complexities that came with healing together as a family. With this realization, a profound sense of connection blanketed them like a warm embrace, a willingness to stand resilient against the tide of their past, while stepping firmly into the light of their future. Jack finally released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. They were here, now, ready to navigate the uncertainties as parents and partners. Ella, unaware of the stakes, beamed in joyful oblivion, and in that moment he felt an unwavering determination rip through him. Perhaps they couldn't erase their history, but together they could weave a new tale grounded in understanding, compassion, and most importantly, love. This was the moment, the turning point that could finally shift their path forward, and it was one Jack was ready for. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.